How do teachers in high-income or low-income areas experience the reputation placed on their districts, and how does this affect a teacher's drive and satisfaction? All across Long Island, school districts vary in socioeconomic levels. School resources differ in the amount of funding they receive both from the state and their own communities. District reputations vary from North Shore to South Shore, from out east by the Twin Forks to New York City. Parental involvement varies by district as parent-teacher associations support their district and fight for more resources. Newly certified teachers are struggling to find a teaching job on the island, as the process to get into a school seems very slow. In thinking about jobs, are incentives offered in low-income districts to teachers so that they can teach there? Does a district's reputation really matter on Long Island? The data used for this project was compiled as a case study from 4 different anonymous teachers and should not be generalized to everyone. In addition, pictures were taken for this podcast that do not represent the school districts of the teachers interviewed. Reputation, a teacher's perspective from a lower S.E.S district.
The current reputation of my school district is a poor one. We are an inner-city school district that is poor performing. We are considered a DI-NI district, which is a district in need of improvement, with many of the schools being SI-NI schools, which is a school in need of improvement. This is a result of low state test scores. We have only about 50% of the students passing the state exams, if even that many, and the high school graduation rate is the lowest in the county. We receive very little parental support, which in turn affects the students' performance. Most teachers that live in the district don't even send their own children to these public schools.
A teacher's perspective from a higher S.E.S district.
We have an excellent reputation in our district. We've had a 98% graduation rate with approximately 93% of those students pursuing higher education.
Teacher turnover rate, a teacher's perspective from a higher S.E.S district.
There's not a high teacher turnover in my district at all. Teachers are clamoring to get into my district because the reputation speaks volumes. I'd bet that for every one job opening on the elementary level, there are 300 candidates or more searching for the position. Now, don't think that I believe this is only happening in my specific district. Our neighboring districts are probably experiencing the same conditions as well.
A teacher's perspective from a lower S.E.S district.
Teacher turnover is a tricky question. Usually once my department finds a teacher that fits our school, they stick around. It is a matter of finding a teacher who wants to deal with the stressors of our district. As the head of the department, it's hard to find someone who wants to be a part of our district.
Financial issues, a teacher's perspective from a higher S.E.S district.
In my district, there are plenty of resources. Rarely do we as teachers have to spend a ton of our own money. In the beginning stages of my career, I spent a ton more money on the classroom library, supplies, things like that. But over time, you build up and accumulate most of the things that you need. We used to get a $200 a year allotment to spend on the items for the classroom, but since the times have grown tight and the budgets have been slashed, well, that money's gone.
A teacher's perspective from a lower S.E.S district.
My school provides me with the basic resources needed in the classroom, but I definitely spend a lot of my own money. Administration expects you to decorate your own room and make it look appealing for the students. Yet, they do not provide you with any of the needed materials. You are expected to purchase all of it yourself. If I do a project or a lab with my students, most of them do not bring in the materials, so I'm left to purchase the needed materials. When my students come to class unprepared, administration expects you to provide the students with the materials needed, again, not provided by the school. Simple rewards for my students come out of my pocket as well. Supplies that I need, for example, pens, pencils, markers, crayons, paper, etc., are all paid for by me. Most years, a grade book has not even been provided for me.
Parental involvement, a teacher's perspective from a lower S.E.S. district.
The parents of my students have very little involvement in their education. We have been in school for a little over 7 months, and I've only met about 5 to 7 parents, and have had phone contact with approximately 10 parents. That's including those that I have met. Many do not have working phone numbers, they do not return phone calls, or they just do not want to be bothered. There are a few, on the other hand, that are involved. They show up to scheduled parent conferences, they return phone calls, and they'll even call on their own to get updates on their child. But unfortunately, that's maybe 1 or 2 parents per year.
A teacher's perspective from a higher S.E.S. district.
A ton of support is given by the parents to the teachers, in my opinion. I don't want to speak for the entire school, but throughout my career, I've always felt supported and appreciated. Our district cares about education and the implications it has on their children. Most of the parents that I encounter, they believe in education as the number one vehicle to advancing their child's future. They understand this concept as education was vital in their current status.
Teacher morale, 2 teachers' perspectives from 2 lower S.E.S. districts.
Throughout my career, I woke up every day inspired to teach. I began to teach in my district strictly because I was receiving reimbursement from my student loans. The other rewards of the job made me decide to stay in the district. This teaching position has made me feel like a role model for all my students.
My everyday life, now after 12 years of teaching, is not really affected much. Had you asked me this question 3 years ago, my answer would have been different. I had a horrible administrator and horrible behaving students. I would be emotionally drained by the end of the school day, which was 2:30 p.m. I would take all my frustrations home with me, and I would constantly complain to my husband about work to the point where he said, I should leave my building, and if I don't, he doesn't want to hear about work anymore. He couldn't take it. Every day there was a new horror story about my assistant principal and or students. I was miserable. I considered quitting teaching because of one administrator and one class. Those couple of years in that building had really had a negative effect on my everyday life. Happy to say, I am in a new building now, not by choice. My old building was shut down, and I go home from work happy. I hardly ever talk about work, and if I do, it's about my coworkers, not administration or my students.
2 teachers' perspectives from 2 higher S.E.S. districts.
School is all-consuming. From morning to night, this job is a huge component of my life. I feel fortunate to have the job that I do. The only hope is that at the end of each year, every student has been altered in some way, shape, or form because of me. A teacher has the ability to shape the future. That's the responsibility that we have that should and could never be taken lightly. I really look forward to each day with the kids. I know the schedule is crazy, the day is tight, the time is short, but once you close that door, the rest of the world is non-existent and the magic really happens. The feeling is like none other.
I love my job. I love getting up to see my students every day, and I'm at retirement age, but I'm still doing it. I love my profession, and I have no regrets. I have a strong work ethic, and I always give 150%. The district's reputation does help to motivate me as a teacher because we have a good reputation with great staff. We have a great camaraderie at this school and great leadership. When you have a good principal, you will also have great staff.
Pre-service teacher survey responses.
After surveying a group of pre-service teachers, the majority of them preferred to land a job in a high-income district. Here are a few quotes from pre-service teachers on their reasons why they prefer to work in a high-income district. One person said, I think I would enjoy a high-income district because students may have more support at home from parents than in low-income areas. Another person cited higher salary, higher budgets, and more resources as the reason for working in a high-income district.
Although most people we surveyed preferred high income, some people preferred a low income district. One person's reason was, low income district may be more challenging, but I think the teacher is probably more appreciated there. They also went on to say, I've seen parents want to take over for the teachers in high income schools. They can be too involved. In conclusion, in a high income or a low income district, the teachers we interviewed have a passion for their job and love it simply because they get up to see their students every day.
Despite the different reputations of various school districts, it seems to have little effect on a teacher's drive, as each teacher creates their own unique satisfaction.
So we want to know, what kind of school district do you want to work in?